Captain Alex Mason's breath came in ragged gasps as the Vargon guards dragged him across the cold, metallic floor of the execution chamber. Each step echoed ominously, underscoring the finality of his situation. The chamber's harsh lights reflected off the alien symbols etched into the walls, casting eerie shadows that danced around Mason's battered form. His mind raced, not with fear, but with a fierce resolve. Lieutenant Sarah Connors, stationed light years away, stared at the holographic display in the Phantom Corps Command Center. The emergency signal from Mason's suit pulsed urgently. Her heart clenched as she recognized the identifier. "Mason," she whispered, her voice a mixture of anguish and determination. Without wasting a second, she activated the comms. "Team, we have a situation. Mason's been captured. Prepare for immediate deployment." In the execution chamber, General Cragg observed Mason with a cold, calculating gaze. The Vargon leader's reptilian features twisted into a cruel smile. "You humans are resilient. I'll give you that," he sneered. "But resilience won't save you." Mason met Cragg's gaze, his eyes burning with defiance. "You can kill me, but humanity will never surrender." Cragg's smile faltered for a moment before he signaled the executioner. A Vargon soldier stepped forward, brandishing a serrated blade. As the blade descended, Mason's hidden device activated, sending out a final distress signal. His body went limp, but his sacrifice had set the wheels of vengeance in motion. Back at the Phantom Corps base, Connors and her team suited up. Their exoskeleton suits hummed with energy, amplifying their strength and agility. Sergeant Drake, a hulking figure with a no-nonsense attitude, checked his gear meticulously. "We'll make them pay for this," he growled. Connors nodded, her mind focused on the mission ahead. "We leave no one behind," she affirmed. "Mason's counting on us." As the Phantom Corps' ship roared to life, the team felt a mix of sorrow and fury fueling their resolve. The alien landscape that awaited them was hostile and unforgiving, but their training had prepared them for any environment. They knew the Vargon stronghold would be heavily fortified, but stealth and precision were their specialties. The ship's descent was swift and silent, cloaked in the shadows of the alien night. Connors led the way, her movements precise and calculated. Each step brought them closer to their target, the image of Mason's execution driving them forward. As they approached the Vargon stronghold, the team split into pairs, each with a designated role. Connors and Drake took point, navigating through the labyrinthine corridors of the enemy base. The smell of alien machinery and the hum of unfamiliar technology filled the air, heightening their senses. Connors paused, signaling for silence. Ahead, they could hear the faint sounds of human captives. She motioned to Drake and they advanced cautiously. The sight that met them fueled their rage. Dozens of humans imprisoned and weak, yet their eyes held the same fire Mason had displayed. "We're getting you out," Connors whispered to the nearest captive. She and Drake swiftly neutralized the guards, freeing the prisoners and arming them with captured Vargon weapons. As chaos erupted within the stronghold, Connors felt a surge of hope. They were making progress, but the mission was far from over. The real battle lay ahead, with General Cragg and his elite forces still standing between them and justice for Mason. Lieutenant Sarah Connors crouched low in the shadows, her heart pounding as she watched the Vargon guards patrolling the corridor ahead. The alien stronghold's walls were lined with pulsing conduits, casting an eerie blue glow that flickered with each heartbeat. She signaled her team to halt, listening intently to the distant sounds of alien machinery and human suffering. "We need to move fast," Connors whispered, her voice barely audible. "Sergeant Drake, take point. We split up here. Remember, stealth is our ally." Drake nodded, his expression grim. "Understood, Lieutenant. We'll get them out." The team divided into two groups, each moving with silent precision. Connors led her contingent deeper into the labyrinthine complex, every sense on high alert. The air was thick with the acrid smell of alien technology and the faint, metallic tang of blood. Each step they took brought them closer to their goal, the tension rising with every second. As they turned a corner, Connors froze. Ahead, A large chamber bristled with alien weaponry and monitoring equipment. In the center, a group of human captives huddled together, their eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. Among them, she spotted a familiar face, Corporal Jenkins, a young soldier who had served under Mason. "Lieutenant." Jenkins' voice was weak but filled with a flicker of hope. "You came for us." Connor's eyes softened, but her resolve remained steely. "We're getting you out of here. Stay low and follow our lead." The team moved swiftly, dispatching the Vargon guards with lethal efficiency. Connor's pulse quickened as they freed the captives, each moment a small victory against the alien oppressors. The rescued soldiers, though weakened, took up arms and joined the fight, their spirits lifted by the presence of their comrades. "Lieutenant, we've got a problem." Drake's voice crackled over the comms. "More Vargon reinforcements are heading your way. We need to move now." Connors gritted her teeth. "Understood. We're on our way." Leading the group, Connors navigated through the twisting corridors, her mind racing to devise a strategy. They needed to reach the extraction point, but the path was fraught with danger. The sounds of approaching Vargon soldiers grew louder, their guttural voices echoing through the halls. As they rounded another corner, the team came face to face with a squad of heavily armed Vargans. The ensuing firefight was brutal and chaotic, laser blasts lighting up the dark corridor. Connors fought with fierce determination, her every move calculated to protect her team and the rescued captives. "Fall back," Connors shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to regroup." The team retreated to a narrow passageway, the walls close enough to touch. Connors scanned the area, searching for any advantage. Her eyes landed on a maintenance hatch partially concealed by debris. "In here," she ordered, prying the hatch open. "It leads to the lower levels. We can use it to bypass their reinforcements." One by one, the team climbed through the hatch, descending into the dimly lit tunnels below. The air was damp and cold, a stark contrast to the heat of battle above. Connors led the way, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. "We're almost there," she encouraged, though her own nerves were frayed. "Stay close and stay quiet." As they navigated the tunnels, the tension mounted. The sound of their pursuers faded, but the sense of urgency remained. They emerged in a secluded section of the stronghold, near the extraction point, where the team paused to catch their breath. "Lieutenant." Drake's voice was steady, though his eyes betrayed his exhaustion. "What's the plan?" Connors took a deep breath, her mind racing. "We hold this position until our extraction team arrives. We can't afford to let our guard down." Lieutenant Sarah Connors braced herself against the cold metal wall of the tunnel, the distant hum of Vargon machinery echoing around her. The extraction point was close, but danger was closer. She turned to her team, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of their gear. "Stay sharp," she whispered, her voice steady. "We've come too far to fail now." Sergeant Drake nodded, his eyes scanning the darkness. "We'll make it, Lieutenant." For Mason. The group pressed on, their movements cautious yet deliberate. The tunnel's damp air clung to their skin, adding to the oppressive atmosphere. Every sound seemed amplified, each step a reminder of the precariousness of their situation. Suddenly, the faint sound of footsteps echoed from behind. Connors signaled for silence, her heart pounding. They were being pursued. She motioned for the team to take defensive positions, each member blending into the shadows. As the Vargon soldiers drew closer, Connors felt a surge of determination. This was their chance to turn the tables. She gave a silent command, and the team sprang into action. The narrow tunnel erupted into chaos as laser fire lit up the darkness. Connors moved with practiced precision, her every action calculated to protect her team and eliminate the enemy. "Hold your ground," she shouted over the din. "We can't let them push us back." Private Lee, a young and agile soldier, darted between cover, providing critical support. "Lieutenant, we're outnumbered." Connor's mind raced. They needed to break through. "Sergeant Drake, cover our flank." "Lee, with me. We're making a run for the exit." With a fierce burst of energy, Connors led the charge, her team following closely. The tunnel narrowed, funneling them towards a heavy door that marked the extraction point. The door hissed open, revealing a stark, well-lit chamber beyond. "Move, move," Connors urged, pushing her team through. The door sealed behind them, cutting off the immediate threat. They found themselves in a storage bay, filled with alien crates and equipment. "Check for supplies," Connors ordered, her breathing heavy. "We need to be ready for anything." Drake and Lee quickly scoured the room, finding additional weapons and medkits. The brief respite allowed Connors to catch her breath and formulate their next move. The extraction point was just beyond the next corridor, but the Vargans were relentless. "We can't stay here long," Connors said, her voice firm. "We push forward and make our stand at the extraction point." The team nodded, their resolve unbroken. They moved as one, each member contributing to the seamless execution of their plan. As they approached the final corridor, the sounds of Vargon soldiers grew louder. Connor's pulse quickened. This was it. They burst into the open, a hail of laser fire greeting them. Connors ducked behind a crate, returning fire with lethal accuracy. "Sergeant, take the high ground. Lee, cover the rear." The battle intensified, the confined space amplifying every explosion and shout. Connors fought with a ferocity driven by loss and determination. Each fallen Vargon brought them closer to their goal, but the cost was high. "Lieutenant, we've got incoming from the east." Drake's voice crackled over the comms. Connor's eyes darted to the extraction point, just a few meters away. "We hold here. No retreat." Lieutenant Sarah Connors gripped her weapon tightly, her eyes fixed on the extraction point mere meters away. The battle raged around her, the air thick with the acrid scent of burning circuitry and the sharp tang of ozone from discharged energy weapons. Every muscle in her body screamed for respite, but she pushed forward, driven by the memory of Captain Mason and the promise of vengeance. "Drake, we need covering fire on the eastern flank," Connors shouted, her voice cutting through the din of combat. Sergeant Drake acknowledged with a sharp nod, his heavy weapon laying down a barrage that forced the Vargon soldiers into cover. "I've got you covered, Lieutenant. Move now." Connors signaled for her team to advance. They surged forward, each step taking them closer to their goal. Private Lee, guarding the rear, fired with precision, his shots finding their marks despite the chaos. As they reached the extraction point, a new threat emerged. General Cragg, flanked by his elite guard, stepped into the fray. His presence was a tangible force, his eyes cold and calculating. "Humans, you will go no further," he declared, his voice resonating with authority. Connors stepped forward, her gaze unflinching. "This ends here, Cragg. For Mason. For all the lives you've destroyed." Cragg sneered, raising his weapon. "You overestimate your strength, human." The final confrontation erupted with ferocity. Connors moved with lethal grace, her every action a testament to her training and resolve. She engaged Cragg directly, their battle a brutal dance of skill and strategy. Around them, the Phantom Corps held the line, their determination unwavering. The sounds of combat were deafening, a symphony of destruction and defiance. Connors parried Cragg's blows, her mind sharp despite the exhaustion. She saw an opening and struck, her blade finding a chink in his armor. Cragg roared in pain, his retaliation swift and vicious. "You're finished," Cragg bellowed, his weapon swinging down. Connors rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike. She rose quickly, delivering a powerful kick that sent Cragg staggering. "Not today," she hissed, her eyes blazing with fury. "Not ever." With a final surge of strength, Connors plunged her blade into Cragg's chest, piercing his heart. The Vargon leader's eyes widened in shock before the light faded from them. He collapsed, his reign of terror ending in silence. The remaining Vargon soldiers faltered, their resolve shattered with their leader's death. The Phantom Corps pressed the advantage, securing the area and ensuring no threat remained. "Area secure, Lieutenant," Drake reported, his voice tinged with relief. "We did it." Connors allowed herself a moment to breathe, her gaze sweeping the battlefield. The cost had been high, but they had prevailed. She turned to her team, their faces weary yet triumphant. "We held the line. We avenged Mason. This is our victory." The extraction team arrived, guiding the survivors to safety. Connors watched as the rescued captives, their expressions a mix of gratitude and disbelief, boarded the transport. Her heart swelled with a sense of fulfillment. As the ship ascended, Connors stood by the viewport, the Vargon stronghold growing distant below. Drake approached, his usual stoic demeanor softened. "Mason would be proud," he said quietly. Connors nodded, her eyes reflecting both sorrow and determination. "We honor him by continuing the fight. This is just the beginning."